Vice Chair Pam Parrish.
Present.
Alderperson Brian Johnson.
Here.
Mohammed Rage is excused. Michael Piat.
Here.
John Calwarts is excused. And Glenn Sherman is excused. And Tara Yang.
Here.
All right. We can run the show. You're Vice Chair.
All right, so we'll do the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, approval of minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Could I just maybe, actually, if I could just address the motion, and I emailed Jessica about this, but move to approve with noting that we still need to hold approval of the November meeting minutes.
Still hanging out there?
They're still hanging out there.
Still hanging out there,
Yeah.
Mystery meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
Those will be on for the next meeting.
So we had a motion and a second.
Proof that I do read the minutes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go into regular business. Item 1, election of officers, chair and vice chair.
All right, so how this is going to work, since you're standing as the vice chair, the most senior member right now, you'll ask for nominations for chair, and you need to ask 3 times.
All right.
And then after that, you can vote, and then the same thing for vice chair. Just because somebody's not here does not mean they cannot be nominated. They just can't vote on it. So we do this every year in March. So you'll just go through first and ask for nominations for chair.
All right. Do I have a nomination for chair?
Pam Parrish.
Any other nominations for chair? And a third time, any other nominations for chair?
Move to adopt.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
Should be clear, the motion, by the way, was to adopt Pam Parrish.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't explicitly state that, but I figured it was implied.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
All
motion
right.
carries.
Congratulations.
Thanks. All right, now I'll take nominations for vice chair. This is a sneaky one.
Has anybody expressed interest?
Not to me, they have not. I don't know if they have to you.
What, can we explain what the responsibility is?
To fill in when the chair is not present. Kind of like the vice president. I mean, that's the only duty is to fill in when not.
Unless I announce at the end of the meeting that this is my
Yeah.
last meeting.
Been there once, right?
So that's what happened to Pam last time.
Oh.
She was appointed vice chair, and at the end of the meeting, the chair
You're
resigned.
sick.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he
Like
moved
in-
away, yeah. After doing it for, what, 20
20
years
Yeah,
or something, so.
I'll accept it.
So we'll nominate-
I'll put my name out there.
All right,
Alright.
I'll nominate Mike. Yeah.
And a
That
second.
needs to come from someone else.
Nope, you can nominate yourself if you want to do the honors.
So I need to do it 2 more times still?
Yep.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? All right.
I would move to approve Mike Piat as the vice chair.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Nice. See?
Party
All
Congratulations.
right, so then we'll move to regular business. Item 2, consideration with possible action on the acquisition of 1300 block South Huron Road, tax parcel 21-183.
All right. What I would like to do is discuss potential acquisition of a property that is out in the I-43 Business Center, just right outside of it. Because we still are negotiating at this point, What I would ask for is somebody to motion to go into closed session so that we can discuss kind of where negotiations are at and then come out of it with a strategy forward. So with that, if somebody would.
I move that we go into closed session.
Second?
Okay. Now, just to be formal, you do have to read the language that's on there. I know it's a little smaller print, but we do need that for the record. And then I will take a roll call vote to go into closed session and then also come out of closed session.
Okay. The authority may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, parenthesis 1E, Wisconsin statute for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.852 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
All right, so then a roll call vote to go into closed session. Chair Pam Parrish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mike Piant, Alderperson Brian Johnson, and Terry Yang. Okay, so we are in closed session.
Thank you.
So we are going to, and then, can I grab the dongle?
Ooh. That's a fun word.
All right.
Do you know Kevin if he wants to speak at all?
Say I didn't need to. If we're in approval with the concept, then he's good.
Is that right? Jess?
Yes, yep, because it's grayed out, so we're going. Okay. All right, so roll call to reconvene in open session. Chair Pam Parrish.
Yes.
Vice Chair Michael Piat. Yes. Alderperson Brian Johnson.
Here.
And Terry Yang. Okay, we're back in open session.
All right, do I have a motion to proceed as recommended?
I move that we proceed as directed in closed session.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Now we'll go to the next agenda item. Agenda item 3, consideration of possible action on the I-43 Business Center expansion. Okay.
Disappeared off my screen. But that's okay. I'll just- there we go, it's back. Okay.
We need a sign-in sheet, but we may have one person have to ask Kevin about this item.
On this item?
May.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna go through, most of you are familiar with this, Tara is not, however. So about a year ago, we started talking about expanding the I-43 Business Park for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons was to follow the city's comprehensive growth plan. And so this is an excerpt from the comp plan. The bluish color or purple color is business park designation. What you see in the yellow dashed line is the existing I-43 Business Center. It's pretty much full. The city doesn't own any real property in there that can be developed. So we took a look at the comprehensive plan. I thought, okay, we need to take a look at an expansion, potential expansion. So what we did is we, following the comp plan, we basically grabbed the rest of the property to the east as a study area. And this, ironically, since we're in the same spot, this is the property we're just speaking of. So we took a look at all of this. The big thing that jumped out for the city was reports of this being very, very wet, a lot of wetlands. What's on this map are just basically, the little dots are suspected wetlands and by the DNR, and the heavier shaded areas are actually confirmed and mapped wetlands. So we took a look at that and it was like, okay, there's quite a few wetlands in there. And we commissioned, or the EDA commissioned, a wetland study, not a delineation, but a study. And so they came back, again, the dashed red line on the bottom and kind of on the top was their study area. And what you see here are what they came up with wetlands. So it's a little bit hard to see, but the darker green are forested wetlands. Those are the ones that we were just talking about, can't be touched, big setbacks. The yellow and the purple are suspected wetlands that are either currently very visible or are being farmed and not as visible, but the indicators are still there that they are there. There are some options the DNR allows to mitigate that, but I guess to put it all into perspective, where it shows on here is the suspected wetland areas. So city staff took a look at it, and again, I'm going to go up following the comp plan. So you can see sort of the southern part was the yellow and brown, which is a residential classification. And so we kind of shaped a potential expansion area to follow that comprehensive plan and also to kind of utilize the wetland area. Industrial, of course, requires large properties that have large area of development. So a good example is just this warehouse right to the east in the business park. When you start seeing the wetlands in the south, you actually can't physically fit that in there anywhere. So we took a look at that and came back to the EDA with the results. And it's about 413 acres that's in the dark red outline. And we asked the EDA some very basic questions. Do you want the city to start thinking about buying, developing a business park? That's what we had done with the original I-43. We bought something like 500 acres, expanded it twice. But we purchased the property first, and then we sold it as a city. We did one in the University Heights area, which is by 5457. That one we placed a planned development over the top of the property for a business park, but didn't acquire any property. Let the private owners address that. There has been very little development out there as compared to 43. So we asked, should we consider purchasing and doing this ourselves? Or, what does the EDA think? You came back to us, I think that was in December, came back to us saying, well, first we would like a potential market study. What's the market for industrial? And that's a different item on the agenda today. And also you had said contact the property owners and see if anybody's even interested in selling at all. So, you could put this in closed session if you want. I don't know if it's really necessary. Okay. So, this was the basic land uses that we kind of came up with. Light, medium industrial within the expanded business center, residential to the south, and sort of a green space there in the center that was heavily wooded. It's blue on this screen, but that was a heavily wooded area that would be sort of a nice active or passive green space between the residential and the industrial. And so we sent out a letter that's in your packet. Basically the letter and a survey saying, are you interested in selling now, which would mean sometimes this year? Are you interested in selling in a certain length of time? And we left that open for them to answer. Are you not interested in selling at all? And then we added some further questions. One, are you thinking of developing yourselves or your family? And the last one is there's no interest whatsoever in developing. So this map just kind of shows you our responses. So everything in pink, or pinkish color, salmon color, those are people that are interested in selling now, or are currently interested in selling. What's in green, they would be interested in 2 to 5 years. What's in yellow, they would be interested in greater than 5 years. And then the blue properties are properties that the city currently owns already. So we've gotten about, I would say, of the properties that we contacted, we've gotten over 70% responses. And with those responses and the city-owned properties, about 86% of the area that we were talking about expanding is either people are interested in selling or they would be soon. It is about 373 acres currently. Obviously, we did receive a couple more today. A few of the small houses along Finger Road also sent some responses back. But obviously anything out here, infrastructure would have to be improved except for where it currently exists, which would be Mason. And I guess we just wanted to share those results of that inquiry that a vast majority of the property owners in the developable area, what we anticipate the developable area, are interested in selling. It would be feasible to possibly contact them. What's in black there is a gentleman who's not interested in selling or developing at all. So, and we did receive 5 letters from people who we didn't contact, because they were outside of the area, who said they are also interested in selling. So the pink properties there along Erie, and then there's one north of Mason. So we kind of had talked about, the wetlands on the south make those very difficult to develop. And then on the north, we really didn't want to go encroach into the residential area with an industrial till we got, to the east side of the city. So that's why that one was kind of left out. But that is basically it. Just wanted to let you know where we were with this. We are, I guess, asking how you want us to continue. What we had recommended was that you send staff to reconnect with the people who didn't respond, try to get answers on the few that are left, and then also open a dialogue with the owners about selling. So, let them know that the city is interested in purchasing and doing this.
Make that motion.
One second.
Any other discussion? Motion for all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are on item 4, consideration of possible action on commercial industrial market study.
Right, so what the second thing that I had brought up last was a market study, and it actually is a very opportune time to do that since we're going to be starting our comprehensive plan update as well. We are doing a housing study. A commercial and industrial market study is probably a great idea. Our plan was done 20 years ago. It recommended big box all over the place. Obviously, that didn't hold out. So before, I guess we even talked about expanding the industrial center. Also, what is the climate for industrial and commercial property out here? Wendy and I had seen some that were done in the Milwaukee area, but we thought we would put an outline together and then go out and try to actually find either a brokerage house or a planning firm to give us a quote to do this type of study. So I just kind of, in your packet, the last page is the outline. I abbreviated it up here. But basically, a project overview is to, has an overall goal is to collect data to assist us with laying out future land uses in the city. That's really what it's for. But we'd like to look at commercial uses, and those include retail, office, personal or professional service, accommodation, and food and entertainment, kind of breaking down commercial into their categories. For industrial, we would look at 4 categories, would be warehousing, wholesale and distribution, which is a little bit different. Light and medium manufacturing, which is going to be your smaller places that don't have a big impact, not necessarily footprint size, but don't have as big of an impact. Everything's done inside, there's no indoor storage, usually no noise or debris. And then general to heavy manufacturing, which is your concrete batch plants and your power stations. And dirty, real, when you think industrial, that's what you think of. And then we also threw in mixed use, and 2 types of mixed use. A vertical mixed use, which is, first floor generally one use, upper floor is different. Whether that's housing above and office on the main floor, that's typically what you see, or retail. But also horizontal mixed use, which is mixing uses on a lot itself. Some people call those lifestyle centers. That was hot maybe 15, 20 years ago. They called them lifestyle centers. So you had a grocery store and then some apartments and then a gym, and they were all kind of separate. But it was a horizontal mixed use. So those were the basic uses we wanted somebody to take a look at. And we wanted them to focus not only on the city of Green Bay, but also all of our adjacent communities, because we're not in a vacuum. I mean, we work with our adjacent communities, or we compete with them, I should say. And then we also threw De Pere in there as well, because they are the only other real urban center, in my opinion, in our general metro area. We were looking at projections. So the projections would be, what do we currently have out there? We don't necessarily know. a snapshot of today. What's the trends in absorption rates and also in vacancies? That should probably give us a supply overage and efficiency where we're at now. And then give us an anticipation of needs. So tell us, you're going to need to add 100 acres of industrial property. I'm just throwing it out as random, but something like that. Then we also threw on a fair land price. So what would a property value, what should we expect to pay for property or other people pay for property if it's urban and serviced? So city streets already, curb and gutter, utilities are all there, just have to build on site. Rural service, which might have utilities but might not have the perfect infrastructure, that might have to be improved. And then rural non-service, so rural that doesn't have the utilities, doesn't have roads going to it. Let us know, from a brokerage standpoint, what those are worth and what we should expect to pay, so we're not overpaying or coming at somebody way underpaid. I mean, a little bit different than an appraisal, but it'll give us that idea. So that was the basic outline for a commercial and industrial market study. I wanted to throw it on your agenda and get it out in front of you in case you have something that we missed or don't think is necessary. Obviously, everything that goes in adds to the price of the study. Everything we take out decreases the price of the study. But it's really not just for the expansion, but also just for the city as a whole.
This is just a request at this time, meaning that we'll get any proposals will still come before us for approval?
Right. This is just to approve the content of the outline.
And do you feel it's necessary for us to include all of this? Or can you have this proposal perhaps broken up? Like,
That's a good point. We could break it up into pieces.
because this just seems very, very robust.
Well, and I think the values are one that are going to change drastically.
Right.
But I really like to compare us against our neighbors. Also, the projections I think are pretty important, especially for the comp plan.
Yeah.
Everything's projections. Maybe the commercial, industrial, mixed use breakdown could be changed so it's not as detailed. But otherwise, I think everything else in here would be needed.
I think that's what we struggled with a little bit. I think initially it came up, right, what are we doing for I-43? But then we have this comp plan process going on right now. And so we're saying, look, instead of doing two separate studies, can we maybe expand what we're doing for I-43? That a bigger study, all right, we could cull some of that data to look at I-43 in particular, but I think we can't ignore, what's going on in the rest of the city or also our neighboring communities, really. I mean, in this case, like we are competing with for a piece of land that somebody's coming to this region, all right, Green Bay, you draw a circle, what are the other options that we have out there? I know that the chamber, I just got an email, was kicking around some things, talking about some of those market things, so maybe there's some overlap there.
Yeah,
But I
'cause
think,
emailed Kelly today, actually, and chatted with her, and she suggested that if we haven't done so already, that we talk to Manny
okay.
Vasquez from Pfefferly, because they probably have some of the, at least the industrial component.
Steve
That is
and I
who
met
we've been
with him.
talking to.
Okay.
Yes.
And his name came up again when we started
Yeah.
that design,
Yep.
because we asked if they were going to do it, and they are potentially another partner.
So, I mean, yeah, if the chamber in New North would be partners, that would help.
Right. Well, maybe something we could ask for too is just maybe some à la carte things in terms of or just different levels of, all right, we do this much, here's the cost. As an add-on, we could potentially do these things to give us some things to discuss how we want to spend funds potentially.
Well, yeah, that would be a good idea. I mean, we could ask them to break down each one of the sections and give us a range. And obviously, we can talk with them afterwards.
I would move that, direct staff to submit the RFP and include those partners as part of that dialogue.
Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You
Motion
voted on that
carries.
before you excuse yourself, right?
I did vote on that, yes,
Yeah.
that's why I was
Okay,
holding
that
out.
was our last item, I think we
Oh, I
needed
don't think I
to start
voted on
quorum.
it.
Oh,
Well,
do you
I'm
have,
just saying
is there
he-
one item yet?
Those are,
This is an action item, right?
correct, it's
Okay.
informational.
Just don't have enough people to adjourn. See you next month.
See you next month.
See ya.
All right, next item informational. Item 1, Brownfield's program update.
Okay, so Tara, just for your background information, the city is the recipient of a few different Brownfield grants through the EPA. Brownfields are sites that are believed to be hindered through contamination of previous historic uses. So old industrial sites that maybe have been vacant or sitting for a long while. We like to take these grant funds and use them to assess the conditions, really figure out what the problem is with the property, and hopefully facilitate redevelopment and cleanup. So the EPA requires us to have a Brownfields Advisory Committee, and the EDA serves as that committee. So you're basically the individuals I update regularly with our Brownfields funds and rely on you for input and guidance. So our fiscal year 17 assessment grants is just about wrapped up. We've spent almost all of our $300,000. We've got $600 left.
That doesn't go far.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, the next time we're all sitting here, this will be closed up, I'm pretty sure. Just since our last meeting, we've spent about $2,100. All of those funds have gone towards remedial action planning for the shipyard site. Just to recap, in all, with this grant, we've assessed 14 sites, 9 of which have confirmed redevelopment, and we're expected to leverage a little over $68 million with new development. So, yeah, it was a good grant. Moving forward, so we wrapped up that assessment grant. We're starting our fiscal year 19 assessment grant here soon. At the last meeting, you guys approved for us to move forward with a contract with Stantec to be our consultant. So we signed that contract here just in February. And we're going to get started on what's called a Quality Assurance Project Plan. And I'm not kidding you, they call this a QAP. And essentially what it is it's a plan that's required to make sure that our contractors are, when they're out in the field and they're handling material that might be contaminated, that they're handling it properly. So once we've got that piece completed, we can really get started doing the real work. And already we've got at least 3 sites identified with what we'd like to get started with this next grant. They're all up here on the map. The first one is the Associated Bank parking lot, former Associated Bank parking lot on Monroe and Cherry. This is a site that we, the Redevelopment Authority, owns. And of course, we've got a proposal here. Gorman Company has proposed a mixed-use project on this site, estimating around $24 million. This includes a 24,000 square foot grocer, 70 affordable apartments, and 10 townhomes. They're pretty early in their due diligence, so we'd like to help them out with doing the phase 1 environmental site assessment and potentially a phase 2 if it's required. So we'll get working on this here as soon as we can. The second site we're looking at getting started with is 5th Street. I'm sorry, 4th. 4th Street between Broadway and Chestnut. Really, yes, here. The Redevelopment Authority really owns basically all of this right here. That's Tidy Cleaners. That's the Green Bay Bicycle Collective bike shop. So we own all this, and we'd like to see potential redevelopment, maybe doing some medium density housing here in the near future. But before we get started with putting out an RFP for trying to attract a developer, we want to get a better handle on the condition of this site. These were houses here previously. You wouldn't typically think there's any challenges with that, but we know we've got some commercial uses just next door. So we thought it might be worthwhile to take a deeper dive, make sure that everything's all ready to go for new development. So that's what we'll be getting started with here probably in the next month or 2. And then more of the shipyard, of course. We're still kind of figuring out the details with the construction of this site. So anytime we kind of tweak the grading, that means we're going to have to make a tweak to our remedial action plan, get the necessary approvals through DNR. So there's still going to be more work with assessments on this site, but we're getting close. And that really takes us to our other grant that we received. We received $500,000 from EPA for cleanup of the shipyard site. And we've only spent about $800 so far of that on travel and training. But the real work should be getting started here this summer. I just got the contract back from Stantec, so that'll probably get signed this week. And yeah, we'll get rolling.
I have a quick question for the
Yeah.
cleanup. Is it the land or the water?
The land.
Land.
So yeah, there's some contaminants in the soil. So basically all we need to do is cap it. So the grant will fund bringing in new clean soil to put over the top, and also any hard surfaces you see there will help pay for that.
And approximately how big is that area? Space?
That's a great question.
South side's about 6 acres.
Yeah.
6 acres?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
There was a previous coal pile, kind of like most of our downtown, and so this is a great improvement from
Oh,
where
yeah.
it has been.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're not familiar with it, I don't know if you want to give her a brief breakdown of what's going on with the shipyard as far as future uses? Or you?
Oh, you mean-
I can just, if you're not
Sure.
familiar with it, it's an
Yeah.
exciting
Sorry,
project.
I don't mean to hold up the.
No, we like talking about this.
It's our favorite project.
Yes.
So go for it.
Oh, me? Okay, well, so there's a natural, war for inlet that right now just kind of goes in and that's it. The site is just kind of piles of earth right now. You have Mason Street on the south, which is on the left-hand side, and all the parking underneath Mason, and then the coal piles further from that. So what the city's looking at doing is, this is the south side of this property, is turning it into sort of a public park, but it's not really a park, sort of a hybrid park. So on the north end, well, we would redo the parking underneath Mason to make it more friendly and nice. There's a couple parking lots that would be to the north that could also utilize the site. A trail would go all the way around the shoreline, sort of a hardscape trail. The center green space would be just sort of a open green space, but it'd be mounded. So it could also act as like an amphitheater, and there would be a mobile stage that could be brought in there for festivals and events. There'd be an urban beach, which is the sand and the beach chairs and the umbrellas, but you don't access the water. A children's play area, a container park, which is really exciting. I don't know if you've seen them before, but where they're shipping containers kind of arranged and then used as restaurants, as a retail space, service, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, I think the focus would be local retail, food and beverage, and
That's on the north side.
yeah, this this little. Oh, I can't see my mouse. Yeah,
Yeah.
the black.
Pink roof.
Is that where Breakthrough would go?
No, this is actually going to be focused more on small businesses. We'd love for it to have kind of an incubator
Okay.
program as well to help get some startups going.
So they
Yeah.
get to the north then?
Private development on the other side of the slip here, on the, I wish my mouse was pointing.
Yeah, the concept,
there.
concept breakthrough plan is right on
Off
the
the
edge. You
street.
can see
Okay.
the edge of the building.
Okay.
But and that's true, that trail goes all the way around and then keeps going up along the shoreline until, at least till we hit the industrial that's right on the water, then it's got to get back to
By
Pearl.
Pearl.
But, also I think there's a beer garden plan, right?
Yeah, right here.
Right. So kind of a nice, and a dog park as well, which is kind of behind those trees on the left. So it's kind of nice amenity for that, for the neighborhood and the near west, southwest side. That hasn't had great access to all of the, like the river deck stuff and city deck, Whitten Park expansions. And so this is really kind of a nice jumpstart for that whole neighborhood and for the whole frontage. But that's just kind of the basics of the project, because I
Thank you.
don't know
Thank
if
you
you
for
knew it or
going in.
not.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I like the idea.
And we like talking about
Yes, we do. Yep, so like I said, we'll actually get started with cleanup of the site probably this summer. And that kind of rolls us into this EPA building blocks workshop, which we just did here in late January. So EPA has been paying a lot of attention, close attention to all the work we've been doing, of course, and a lot of it has been in this area. And they are, they see all these improvements that we're making on this really targeted approach at neighborhood revitalization, kind of in the South Broadway corridor. And they got a program called the Building Blocks Program, which is available to communities across the country. And they came to us and said, hey, we'd like to help you facilitate neighborhood revitalization here. So they provided us with this free technical assistance grant valued at about $20,000 to help us kind of kickstart this work that we've already started, but just taking it an extra step further. So what it was a 2-day workshop where we had a neighborhood meeting. This is just a photo of our neighborhood meeting that we had. I think it was the 29th of January. I think we counted just shy of 100 people from the neighborhood in this area. Very, very well attended. We've done a lot of community outreach in this area for the shipyard project specifically, but we haven't talked to these folks as much about general neighborhood revitalization efforts that we'd like to make in this area. So this gave us an opportunity to have another conversation with these residents and ask them, what would you like to see us invest in? What programs are we not offering that would help fill a gap? What are your needs and what would you like to see? So we had a very well attended public meeting, got some great feedback. Also part of this effort, we had a tour of the neighborhood with consultants that were facilitating this whole effort. With the EPA, we also had some CRA folks, Community Revitalization Act bankers, that we invited to join us on this tour of the neighborhood as well. Just to give these outsiders kind of a hands-on tour of what's going on here in this neighborhood and some of the projects we've been working on. We took them by some businesses that we've worked with Pepper and Richard Craniums on facade grants. We took them through some homes that are being constructed with NeighborWorks. We showed them all what was happening over at the rail yard. Yeah, had some good conversations. Actually, this is a photo of the whole tour group, and this was us at the Green Bay Bicycle Collective down on 5th. And so then after the tour, after the neighborhood meeting, we all came back and we were here in this room working for an entire day on actually identifying some strategies to help facilitate revitalization. So kind of the broad strategies that we identified. One, we wanted to promote placemaking and development, of course. 2, invest in quality, affordable housing. 3, define what we affectionately call the residual district. And that's kind of the area between Ashland and the river, south of 7th Street to Liberty, or kind of by Lombardi. It's an area that's kind of just an odd mix of single-family residential, and then you'll have a garage or an industrial property, and then you'll have another house, and then you'll have another industrial property. It's just kind of this odd mix that we kind of want to get a better handle on and do some visioning to better define that district. And then 4, reshape neighborhood connectivity and mobility. We've got a lot of overpasses and neighborhoods that are just cut off from other parts of the community. So we want to take a better look at that. So what's going to happen next is they're going to provide kind of a a guide, a strategy, a document for the city and the neighborhood to really define some objectives and goals and take these 4 strategies and just take them to the next level. And that should be provided probably by the time we meet again, and we can share that with you, and we can have some more conversations about all that and what's to come. But overall, I thought it was a pretty worthwhile effort. It will help us, I believe, secure additional grant funds in the future with EPA as we continue to build this partnership with them and as they continue to be more involved in this neighborhood. I think only good things can happen, so.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's my song and dance for today. Any questions?
Move to director's report.
Not much else to add. We've got a lot of good stuff going on, with I-43 and downtown, and so we're just kind of gearing up for things that we're going to do this year. And I know this group had a little bit of lull in activity, but I think we've definitely got a stack of things to touch on this year. So excited for a good year, and welcome to Tara. So thank you for participating in this organization.
Good.
All right. Number 3, date of next meeting is April 6th, 2020. And adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you also for accepting the position.
Get the video?
You did wonderful. Hopefully we make it easy on you. Yes.
I'm in enough committee. Thank you.